How I was so pissed I rage quit a campaign because the DM plagiarized our ideas. Hi everyone, All Things D&D is back with a story that made me almost violently angry. Dungeons & Dragons is about creating new worlds, new legends, and new adventures. But this DM is so dull he has to steal all of his ideas. Honestly, I'm sure you're going to be just as mad as me. I can't even imagine how angry the comments section will be after everyone listens to this. I would like to preface this. I'm still good friends with the DM of this campaign. He's a regular player in my campaign, and a good friend of mine. But this campaign was easily his lowest point as a DM. I have never quit a campaign before for any reason other than scheduling. I love D&D and happily join in on any of my friends' campaigns. But this campaign pissed me and the other players off so much that over the course of several sessions, almost every player quit. It was the DM's second campaign. Several weeks earlier, they had rushed a dissatisfying ending of their previous campaign in order to begin working on their next big idea. We started off at level 3, a party with me, a homebrew Arcanoloth tiefling wizard, my adopted brother, a tiefling cleric of Tritherion, an estranged monk, a half-orc champion fighter, and a dragonborn zealot barbarian. Oh, and how could I forget the uber-edgy fighter, wizard, warlock multi-class monstrosity that the DM and one of his best friends had been planning for weeks. We arrived in a port town by ship, got off and headed towards the tavern for lodgings. As we traveled through town as a group, we stumbled upon a scene in the town market. Two elves shouting about dreams and darkness before attacking the civilians near them with magic. We got involved in the fight to save people, but were immediately shocked to find both of these elves were 8th level wizards with spells like Wall of Fire that could easily reduce almost all of the party to 0 HP on a failed save, and potentially instant kill the weaker characters, even if they rolled above average. It was a brutal fight that ended with all but 2 of the players unconscious and bleeding out. As a wizard, I did the only logical thing after a fight with wizards. I ran up and looted their spell books. But between them, they only had 3 spell pages, all of spell levels that I could learn. That's awfully convenient. We then immediately got arrested at the scene by a legion of guards that were apparently just far enough away that they couldn't aid us. But there were enough of them to block every road and alleyway. We were taken into holding, where we were questioned about what happened. We're innocent. The wizards had gone mad. They were spouting about someone giving them gifts and attacked the villagers, I proclaimed in fear. The captain of the guard knew exactly what we were talking about, telling us of a madness that seemed to be infecting people, and told us to head southwards to a city populated only by mages. Surely they knew the answer. What followed can only be described as hell, a 24-day journey along a popular main road through the forest. Every day we rolled for a random encounter. More than 50% of the outcomes were fights, and every fight we had were deadly encounters, usually against multiple 7th or 8th level spellcasters. But it was alright, because our DM, who was notorious for fudging his dice rolls, was kind to us. The start of every fight was brutally hard, as they rolled impossibly well on their attacks and damage, but as soon as things became dire, they couldn't hit any attacks, and when they did it was ridiculously low. Such as the lightning bolt that hit our unconscious cleric. The attack does 8d6 lightning damage, yet somehow he only rolled 10 damage, just enough not to kill our 11 max HP cleric. I'm no mathematician, but even I know that the chance of rolling 6 1s and 2 2s on 8d6 is near impossible and super convenient. After about 8 sessions of this, and 2 real months later, we finally arrived at the City of Mages, with no meaningful plot or roleplay development, to immediately discover that they had little idea what was going on, and were sent on another errand to a town, about double the distance we had traveled away, and through what the DM describes as a more hostile forest. By this time, we had set up a private chat without our DM, and it was filled with a single repeated message. Nope, in all capitals. I came up with the solution. According to the map, at least this was a port town, so why not get a ship there as the destination was on a large river? But despite the town's location on the map, it was a day's travel to the small port hamlet that fed this town with supplies, so we walked there. We asked for a ship north, only to be told by the DM that ships don't go to that town, as the river was too dangerous, and we would have to get a ship to our original town and then walk the rest of the way. We all agreed that while it was annoying and awfully convenient that no matter what we did, we still had to slog through his endless random encounters, but this way it was only half as many. But on board the ship, the DM topped it. On one of the days of travel, I noticed something lurking in the hold of the ship, a shadow that sent a chill down my spine. Curious, I gathered the party and headed down into the hold, where I maneuvered light to force a confrontation with the strange clawed shadow creature that was hiding down there. It rose up from the shadows. In common, it growled, "So hungry, must feed," and ran at us. I tried to subdue it with magic. Rolls a 31 on its wisdom save. It attacks our edgy fighter multiclass, 33 to hit, and not a critical, instantly killing him. It then attacked our barbarian for some 20-something to hit, as our DM laughed because he said rolled badly on the attack and downed our barbarian. Conveniently enough, a single damage short of instantly killing him. Where have I seen that before? So we're fighting our DM's homebrewed monster as level 3 players, with no adequate description to show us that we should not be fighting it. It has a plus 11 wisdom save, at least a plus 14 to hit on a multi-attack that can do 60 damage per hit. We legged it out of the cargo hold, leaving our barbarian to die. The DM had him roll saving throws and he was stable. We told the crew, who turned out to be a synchronized acrobatics crew of swashbucklers who flipped and hopped themselves into the hold, to find our barbarian stable and our edgy fighter dead. We took them up top, confused as to why the creature had not fed on the bodies after we left, healed the barbarian, and began a ceremony for our dead fighter, who simply woke up in the middle of the ceremony. Turns out our DM and the player had created a character together. He was playing an immortal who had been alive since the Dawn War, whose brother had become Nerul, the god of death, and he had been cursed by Tharas Dun the Chained to live a life of immortality, unable to die. Now robbed of agency and the roleplay of losing a companion, our party was pissed. Our Grave Domain cleric stood there and proclaimed, "You are a grand violation to the natural order and have foul magic sustaining you," and killed him again. The crew arrested him, likely as punishment for player versus player conflict. When he resurrected again, I told him to part ways, or I would find a way to ensure he lived forever 6 feet under. Shortly after this, I quit, as the DM interrupted us in the middle of our first meaningful roleplay with a rogue who tried to kill one of us. The rogue ran for a few minutes before we outsmarted him, cutting him off, but he conveniently had Dimension Door prepared to escape. So he was a 7th level spellcaster and a 7th level rogue with 4d6 extra sneak attack, potentially a 17th level arcane trickster. Fair and balanced. When I left, so did our cleric, our fighter, our monk, and our barbarian. The player playing his multi-class monstrosity brought in a new character, and the campaign went on after the DM found some new players. But this isn't where it ended. Nope. I sat in on the Discord on occasion, when I had little else to do. I watched as he copied a gauntlet-type arena straight from my campaign, even using the same description of transmutation runes that changed the battle each round to suit the monsters I threw at my party. But instead of themed monsters, it was just DMPC characters with much higher class levels than the players that made it impossible for them to win. So it made no sense to have the themed battles. I watched another player quit after the DM continued to rule that Fog Cloud was a light mist that people could see through, target you through, and follow you through. But it all came to a head in one scene, when the party finally arrived at the town in the north the wizards had sent us to. For background, the player who was playing the immortal multi-class monstrosity had been DMing his own campaign, and for the last 2 months, we had been tasked with protecting an ambassador from a far-off kingdom ruled by magic. The twist was that this ambassador was actually a lich, who had risen to power in a kingdom that resided outside of morality. Now, color me surprised when they arrive in the northern town, only to discover that it was ruled by none other than an ambassador lich, which was especially jarring, because despite having the title of ambassador, he filled the governmental role of a major or lording nobleman, and wasn't an ambassador at all. The campaign ended there, after the player took the DM into another chat, told him to stop plagiarizing everyone else's campaigns, and left the Discord. We sat there in dead silence for minutes as he tried to justify it as an original idea, just sessions after I had told him off for stealing content from my campaign. Don't steal people's ideas, especially if they're your own players, and don't make encounters that are impossible. Come on. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, All Things D&D. Our next video will be posted in 3 days, so stay tuned for more amazing Dungeons & Dragons content.